a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for creating time for Daybreak. It continues. I know you were expecting a different person. Willis Raburu is away, and I'm sitting in for him right here as we take it to talk about matters love, matters relationship. It is Tuesday, and this is what we do each and every Tuesday right here on Daybreak. And I have a panel of, I would say, eminent people who understand when it comes to matters mapenzi, what you need to do, what you need to avoid, and how you can be able to just live happily ever after. What are some of the tips? That is what we will be discussing this morning as we mark the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Today on Relationship Tuesday, we want to talk about toxic relationships. And just to understand, why do some people stay in relationships that sort of do not work to their interest, and issues that people go through in relationships when it comes to matters love. And I just want to take you through the question of the day, because as we will be having this conversation, we want to also to contribute. And we are asking you this morning, what do you think lead people to stay in toxic relationships? What do you think lead people to stay in toxic relationships? So you can send in your SMS on 22422. The hashtag to use is Daybreak. Remember, the SMS is 22422. Use the hashtag Daybreak. And you can also tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the same hashtag Daybreak at Safin_Chieng also, and we'll be able to track your tweets as we have this conversation. And allow me now to bring on board my panel of eminent people.
I love your intro. I was like, oh, yeah, she's saying all the right things. I love it.
Just the part, eh? Cutie. Yeah. The green thing going on. By the way, she's the official representative of Girl Child. Girl Dem, if you see her here, you know your interest. And now Kimona Meva Green. Actually, today, guys, I sort of like call it like tonight I love Mkutano, AGM. Let's talk. Let's have a talk with this thing called love, and get to find out why sometimes it hurt.
Yeah.
Because guys, when it starts, it's all sweet and rosy, especially hakuna season tamu kama when somebody is pursuing you and akukatia. Roberta, the body language.
Before they start pretending. Before they start pretending, yeah.
And then
right.
things just turn around. But let's begin from the basics. Let me begin with you, Mike. Sorry. And they started. It's a toxic atmosphere right here. We are fixing that anyway.
Yeah.
So let's get to understand when we're talking about toxic relationships. Essentially, what are we talking about?
Okay, thank you, first of all, for inviting me back on the show. And it's good to see you all.
Karibu always.
Well. And hello to Willis and Shatterboy, wherever they are. Okay, so what is a toxic relationship? I think for me, toxic relationship is a relationship where it's an environment where you cannot be the best version of yourself based on the words, thoughts, and actions of the person that you're with, or even of yourself. You know, usually when we think about toxic relationships, we think very quickly that it is this other person who is making this relationship toxic.
Yeah.
We never ask ourselves, what is my contribution towards this toxic environment that I am in?
Yeah.
You know, and so usually we are pointing fingers and we're like, yeah, you don't do this, you don't do this, you don't do this, you don't do this. And so I think for me, just a simple, plain definition is when you're in an environment that does not allow you to thrive, does not allow you to be the best version of yourself, either because of your own relationship with yourself or how you relate with the person you're with.
All right.
Then that's a toxic relationship.
All right. Mike Washira, allow me to do this. Mike Washira is a human rights activist. You know, you guys are here with us every day. I actually assume that you guys know you already, but let me not, take that for granted. A human rights activist, Roberta Bobby. She's a blogger and a panelist, Asante Sana, and of course, the cute and cutie radio personality. Thank you. Let me get it from you. By the way, when it comes to matters love, ile character development watu wameonyeshwa hii town.
Nairobi. Gori.
So I don't know whether if you're watching us, uko side ya love or ile side ya character development, but you'll be telling us by the end of this particular show. That's why we are inviting your feedback on this particular program. We are asking you, what do you think lead people to stay in toxic relationships? 22422 is where you can share with us your little experience as we continue. But Roberta, tell us a bit about how you understand when love begins to hurt. When you talk about toxic relationships, from a woman's perspective, what would that be for you?
You know, when I started studying relationships and just human behavior in general, I started realizing that in the beginning of relationships, when you meet someone and you like someone, you always bring your best foot forward. You dress your best, you make sure you look your best, you act your best. And sometimes your best is not entirely who you are as a whole. Because of course, siwezi ingia kwa relationship day one na nimeanza kupick nose on a date. Uta notice, udem. Ama nikujeka na kachokora, ama naongea vibaya. These are things that when you spend more time with people, people start to open up and they start being more comfortable being themselves. And it is in that you start to see the disparity and the differences between people in relationships. This happens in every relationship, whether romantic or even with your family. So what happens is, I would say that we get into relationships for the wrong reasons, which is, nimekuona unakaa poa na kulike, let's do this. People don't think about how much hard work it is and how you have to choose love every day and how you have to be very intentional, self-aware. You have to work on yourself. I just watched a video about this guy who was describing how someone who's in a healthy relationship carries themselves. And what they said was that, and I agreed with this because I was like, yeah, this really makes sense, because this is exactly what you need to do to even yourself, be in a space where you feel safe and comfortable with yourself. Most people who are in a healthy relationship, some of the traits they have is that they genuinely love themselves and they consistently want to improve themselves. They're always looking to how can I be better physically? How can I be better emotionally? What can I learn using my mind? What skills can I teach myself? They're always trying to improve themselves in any way. So when you're consistent, because that's a self thing, it makes you self-aware. It improves you for yourself. So even if you get into a relationship with someone else, you're able to notice things that do not sit well with you, things that are beyond your standards and boundaries, things that are good for you, things that make you feel good. Being self-aware helps you, it puts you at an advantageous post where you're able to see things for how they are, and you're able to see, oh, I like this, but can we have these discussions? Can we improve yourself? So the basis of having a healthy relationship, even with anyone else, has to start from you.
From you, wow.
It has to be from you improving yourself, because then such a person cannot be with someone else and want to be jealous or angry or fight. If you've already worked on yourself, you know how to handle things better. So you bring all those traits into your relationship with someone else.
Wow, I love how deep you make it sound. It begins, like you have to love yourself first.
Yeah.
For you to even expect to be loved. You have to know what...
You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Wow. But Cutie, it sounds so good when we sit here pretty and talk about it. But kwa ground, is it that easy? I mean,
kwa ground, mambo ni ngumu,
Yeah.
And it's all about pretense. It's poisonous. When you talk about toxic relationships, I call it poison. You're in a poisonous environment whereby you cannot be yourself. Like if I'm Cutie and I'm in a relationship, if someone is being toxic to me, I will never be myself. So all these toxic relationships, they're based on something that someone wants to benefit from you. And when someone intimidates you, you can never be yourself. Or when someone feels like you intimidate them, they will definitely make you feel like you're not enough, you're not good enough. They just want to, and it's actually about them. It's never about you. When you're in your toxic relationship, it's always about that person, whatever it is that they're projecting on you, whether it's anger, whether it's sarcasm.
For real, actually hear stories of people saying, oh, mimi nilimongelesha vibaya, oh, it's maybe I don't create enough time for that person.
They make you feel that. They're smart enough to make you feel like you're not creating time for them, you're too busy for them. It's actually about them. Never think that it's about you when someone is being intimidated by maybe your actions or all that, because at the end of the day, why is this person getting their anger out on you? Like when I'm angry, because you're wearing something, like I don't like your red top. I tell you, for example, I don't like the way you wear red tops. They don't look good on you. But confidently, that red top looks good on you.
Yeah.
Like you're coming on TV, the top. But when you live in the house, your partner is like, I don't like you when you're wearing, you see. So they're trying to manipulate your thinking. They're trying to manipulate and control you. Controlling behavior. Why would someone want to control the red top that you're wearing? You see, that's just an example.
Right.
There are other many toxic traits, but it's for their own self-centered interest and all that.
They sort of like want to belittle belittle you and make you feel less valuable and less important, like just so that they can have control over you. But Mike, do we sometimes, I hope you like my red.
I love your red. You look good in red.
But I mean, do we sometimes miss it? Where does it begin? Because I'm trying to imagine somebody just doesn't wake up one day and become like violent or
you know what happens.
Are we so much in love that we miss the red flags sometimes?
Yeah, and it's good you brought that up, because I've always said that we have, popular culture has made relationships look so romantic and so flowery, and we never really see the hard work that you need to put into relationships. So one really talks about, how you need to communicate with each other, the boundaries that you need to have with one another, the respect that you need to have with one another, how you have grace for one another. Those are things that you will not hear in music. In music, you'll just hear about the flowers and the nice trips to Dubai or wherever, and so we glamorize relationships, and we don't really have space where we, interrogate and have thoughtful conversations and meaningful discussions about what healthy relationships look like. And so most of us go into relationships very ill-equipped to manage relationships. So you just find, like Roberta said, you just find yourself there, this person, the attraction was physical or financial or whatever it was. There was something that brought you two together. And then now you're here in this space where the two of you are. You've never really asked yourselves about the traumas that you have grown up with, the things that you have, the baggage you've brought into this relationship. You've never put this baggage on the table and said, you know what, my name is Mike, let me just drop this bag here, I remove everything.
No, who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? And when should you do that?
Sure.
We all want to be our best, look our best.
And that's the problem. And if you look at, for example, most marriages, most intimate relationships, you start getting problems in year 2 or year 3. And why do you start getting serious problems in year 2 or year 3?
When the honey goes away.
When the honeymoon has gone. The honeymoon has now... Now see.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, because before you get to year 2, you're dating each other's representatives.
Yes.
Yeah. You're showing up as the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
I buy flowers, I bring breakfast in bed. Then now, by year 2, you're tired. You can't keep up this act anymore. And that's when you start noticing, hey, okay, this guy doesn't flush the toilet. No. Seriously, it's things like those.
What an example.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, so things like those. He doesn't pick up after himself. This is what she does. She talks this way. She's snappy. She's annoyed. She's irritable, So... And it's both people who contribute to that, usually, contribute to that toxicity in the relationship. So the other thing that we're really good at doing is ignoring red flags. And so remember, you've just come from a honeymoon period. Everything was nice. And that's when you start hearing people saying, but when we started dating, you were not like this. But of course they were not like that, because they were going through a honeymoon period. So everybody was showing up as the best version of themselves. Yeah. And so you may have seen things, but you just ignored them because you were in love. So that's the other thing. We ignore red flags and we don't confront them. We don't have these conversations that are difficult to have, because our idea of a romantic relationship is that it must always be honeymoon period. Yeah,
the honey sometimes just goes away from the moon and things, mask is off and everything. But then, Roberta, so at what point do you sit down and bring this very difficult conversation on the table, where you're not talking about your good sides and how you can build each other? You're actually talking about your weaknesses, your past, your trauma, and all this baggage that you're coming with into this relationship. Yeah. And how should that conversation go?
Let me tell you the easiest hack. And I say this all the time. I've probably already said it. Work on your relationship with yourself. Your relationship with yourself is what you're always going to manifest into relationships with other people. If you have the confidence to know yourself and to speak up, if you're able to talk to yourself, ni vitu simple kama uende kwa restaurant, uorder kitu, ikuje vibaya, you have the voice to say, iko na garlic mob sana. I don't know if there's such a thing like garlic mob, but garlic is good. But you need to be able to speak up. To talk, so it becomes normal, so that when you're in a relationship with someone, ukiona haja flash to useme ati, maybe tu ni leo. Easy conversations ni vitu, there's no ati schedule, there's no timing, it's things arise as you go. But you need to have worked on yourself and your confidence enough to know that if your partner comes to you with an issue that they have, it's not a personal thing. It's something you can put on the table and have an open discussion about it. It could be private, it's something you should be able to do. Kuongea tu, even in your friendships, you should be able to be friends with people who you guys talk to each other and you tell each other the truth. Because if you're not having these difficult conversations every day, every other day, when then? If I can't tell you, Buddha, mdomo yako inanukanga, unaweza try ku.
But you know, at what point do you bring this up?
This is
just met someone you guys like each other, things are going on nice. I mean, you know, when the relationship is starting, you guys, you know how warm
I think you when you're with someone, you're able to read the vibe. I mean, like I've met Mike a couple times. I already know the things I can tell him, and I know the things I can't say to him because it's not my place, or I'm not close enough to him to speak like that. It's a vibe thing. It's how you interact with each other. It's how easy you make the conversations. It's, I'm sure, like vitu you build up. Kuna vitu utambia mtu day one ati, manze hizo jeans. Of course, it's just about reading the room and creating the vibe and being able to talk to each other. And I'm sure even leading on to before maybe you meet, if maybe you've been talking online, or even from the time you meet to when you guys are dating and talking, you talk about, kwani mnaongeanga juu ya nini? Watu huongea juu ya nini? Sija date in a minute, but you know, but I think something I'm realizing about being very self-aware is also that it becomes easy for you to read vibes. It becomes easy for you to read energy. If you step into a room and people don't like you, you're going to tell this, even before they tell you, you're going to be able to. So if you're with someone, iyo vibe inakuanga. Sijui ndai explain aje in a way that it would be easier for even people who are not spiritual to be able to understand, but you have to work on yourself deeply for you to be able to be very present and exist as yourself, for you to be able to say, this guy.
Sorry to cut you short. I think that will also help to work on a lot of things that you could be dealing with.
Definitely.
So that you don't end up carrying too much baggage into the next relationship, because
That's
you'll be listening to yourself and knowing how you feel and how your emotions are taking you and what you really want in the next relationship. So that by the time you get to that relationship, you actually know that it's not this person's fault. Do you know there are people who carry whatever it is that somebody did to them, like in
the story. And if it's as simple as even when you hang out with people and you live, you're able to tell, how did that interaction make me feel? Was I nilikuwa najishuku, nilikuwa anxious, ama nilikuwa too comfortable enough kusema my deepest secrets? How did this person make me feel? Don't ignore such things, because I've noticed, I recently moved out into my own place, and I realized kuna friends when you utaka kukam ile, let me come, bring you gifts. And I realized I'm an introvert, so I don't really let people into my space that easily. And so for my home, I knew it was going to be difficult to have people over. Something I'm realizing is I actually like visitors, which is weird because it's not something that I usually do. But the moment I find myself being like, should I send them my pin location? Or should I let them? That already has told me I'm not comfortable. It doesn't matter whether they're my best friend or I like them a lot, or I'm able to just tell. Because mse mwenye na like, mse kama cutie kinisho, wacha nipitie. Sawa, like, niko sawa, niko comfortable. It's an easy yes. But the moment I'm like, siko sure about cutie, namzungusha tu. So it's a vibe thing.
So cutie, sometimes nasikia that there are things you never ever have to say. Like kuna zile siri zako that you have to just keep it to yourself. Unaweza choma, like you could bring them on the table and then iharibu maneno. Maybe this was a potential, you know, husband material, and then we umeleta baggage ya sijui how many years you've been with how many people, you know, and then kind of you were put off. Is that the best way to go about it, ama you bring everything on the table?
Una Josephine, ukianza kudate mtu, as we've said, you just don't come with the baggage on the first day. Lazima usome vibe ya mtu. And when you're dating someone, you first have to read them. Una get? Kuna ule mse mwenye utaka naye hata hizo 3 months, Mike ameenda sana, anasema 1 year, 2 years. By the way, siku hizi 3 months, 6 months, ushajua by the way. Ushajua kama huyu mse
agree.
Neza mdate, kama umse neza kanae, is it long term? Ukishaanza kusoma vibe ya umse uanze kujua kama ni long term. Juu kuna ule mse utamit, you'll be like, ai umse hata vibe yake si feel. So I don't need to actually download all that for him, unajua. But kuna ile time yenye unaweza kana mse uanze kusoma vibe ya mtu, because there are people who say unaweza toka kwa relationship ya 10 years na ukuje kwa ya 3 months uoleke na mse upate watu wengi na mwanze kushipua, but ile hiyo 10 years amkuwa. So ni vibe tu unasoma ya mse. So inafikaga point unacheki mse ni kama kuna potential, kuna something that inaweza enda, and with time mnaenda mkisomana, so utaenda ukimwambia tu vitu polepole, but huwezi enda ukiambia kila mtu. Utaambia huyu 3 months umwambie vitu zako akutoke, uende uambie huyu mwingine 3 months akutoke, you know. So you really have to be careful about the vibe ya mse. Lazima usome mse vile yako, and hizi vitu zote zinakuja pia na traumas vile tumegrow up. Unajua tumegrow up tukijua there are certain things I'm not supposed to do as a girl, there are certain things sifai kudu kama boy, unaona. So hata ukikuja kwa hiyo relationship, weka boy utatulia tu seme si ni mama ndo anafaa kufanya hizi vitu. So pia weka mama ukikama unaanza kushindwa kwani huyu pia naye anangoja nifanye kila kitu, you know, such kind of things. So pia ni hizo childhood traumas tumegrow nazo. Nimegrow nikiona mother ndo fanya vitu fulani, father ndo fanya vitu fulani, but in real sense vitu zimechange size. So that's why hiyo jina toxic inakam poisonous, because me na feel like if I'm doing certain things pia uboy anafaa do certain things. So utajipata tumikatikati, but kuna hizo vitu culture, unajua hizi cultural bonds, yani tumegrow up na culture zingine mimi sifai kufanya, na nikikuja kwa hii relationship sifai kuongelesha uboy. I'm not actually supposed to speak my voice, to open my mind. Mimi nafaa tu ninyamaze, niache uboy achezekae. Hizo ndo vitu zenye zinaleta hizi toxic relationships zote. Like una feel like you're not being yourself, na pia sometimes dem kama umejielewa kabisa, hiyo pia ina intimidate giboy. So utapata boy anaanza kukuambia vitu, kukuput down. And sarcasm, acha nikwambie, sarcasm is wittiness with bitterness. Acha niseme hivyo, cause ni bitterness. Unajokia mse unamput down, wataka kuweka mse down, unambia wewe pia unapenda hiyo job yako sana. Unaget when you tell someone that ni joke but si joke. In real
joke
sense
serious.
Ni joke serious. Unaget unaambia mse, or if you joke about something and then when mse amejam mwambie I know you got mad at what I told you, lakini you sio kuapologize. You're not apologizing to someone. That's actually being toxic when you're telling someone. And ukiona amejam, unajua unaweza joke ya mse, then when amejam, then wamwambie najua umekasirika, lakini why are you putting the lakini? Unajua kama umekosea mse, na hizo toxic traits ndo zina come out vibaya, cause hizo jokes by the way tuache kujokia na hizo vitu mbaya. Unaambia mse ati wewe sijui unapenda kufanya nini. Imagine si jokes, usiniambie hizo vitu. Unajua
kuna watu hawawezi kuapologize.
Hawawezi.
By the way, that's a different topic altogether. Like there are people who they are not wired to say sorry, and this sometimes can be really hurtful to their partners. I'd rather umwambie, you know, choose to run to Mozambique or say sorry. Afadhali akimbie. Anyway, let's get to hear what some of our viewers are saying on social media. We were asking you, what do you think leads people to stay in toxic relationships? And the SMS line there, 22422. The hashtag is Daybreak. Let's just get to hear your thoughts on the conversation we are having in studio this morning. Dismas from Nakuru, you say people stay because, one, of property. They have invested so much together. Number two, children, not wanting of course they stay because of children. They don't want their children to grow up without a dad or a mom. That is Dismas from Nakuru. And of course we have the other SMS there, low self-esteem, lack of self-love, and not knowing your worth made me stay in a toxic relationship for way too long. Thank God I was able to get out before it was too late. Low self-esteem, that's one of the biggest reasons there. We have another one there sharing with us. Toxic relationship starts when one feels inferior in that union. By the way, thank you so much for keeping to share your feedback with us. Mtetezi wa vijana from Lugari. Mtetezi wa haki za vijana. Yeah. Thanks to the panel for speaking about toxic relationship. I'm watching till the end. Thank you for the support, Mtetezi. We appreciate your time. Melanie, you say most people stay in toxic relationships because they fear what people might say when they quit the relationship, and others stay and endure everything for the sake of their children. They don't want their children to be raised without one parent's presence. Okay, okay. The other one there says bad choices or not learning your partner well before getting in a relationship. Yeah, okay, so that's one reason there. Brino from Mombasa County, you say, I think blind love is the main reason. They say, mapenzi kipofu. I think blind love is one of the main reasons. Faith Mugo, you say, if one party is depending on the other, especially in terms of money, that would make one to stay in a toxic relationship. Then we have one there saying, if a toxic relationship is where one can't be himself or herself, how do we help those who would wish to retain a bad behavior in a relationship? I mean, those who do very bad things, claiming that that is who they are and can't change. Please help. There are people who just say, "Mi niko hivyo. This is who I am. Accept me for who I am. Love me for who I am." Wow. So thank you so much for your feedback, but very interesting thoughts there coming. And you're talking about toxic relationships this morning. And I just want us to cross over to the next part of this conversation. Why do people stay? Mike, you've had there several reasons. Financial, ranging from, you know, I want my child to have a father. I want my child to stay, to grow up with their mother, so I'll stay here. I mean, just talk to us about what you think would lead somebody to stay, and whether some of the reasons that our viewers are giving us this morning are healthy reasons or valid reasons.
Sure. And I mean, a lot of the things that have been said, they're extremely valid. And, you know, those are the reasons, you know, among many why people choose to stay in toxic relationships. I think in addition to those, for me, one of the things that I've realized is that we let relationships define who we are. And because we haven't defined who we are for ourselves, you get so attached to this idea of being so-and-so's boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend. Mimi na daktari, we went on our trip to wherever.
Mimi na wakili.
Mimi na wakili. You know, so so that relationship becomes your defining. No, it's true. No, it's true. So now you don't know who you are outside that relationship. You've never sat and asked yourself, okay,
who am I?
Who am I without this relationship? Without being called so-and-so's boyfriend, so-and-so's girlfriend, so-and-so's husband, partner, whatever. So we don't define those things. And so that's why we find ourselves in situations where now when you have to think about pulling out of this relationship, you're like, hey. Now what are people going to say? What am I going to tell people? We know we've got friends in common. We usually show up at the club together. What's going to happen to matching outfits? Yes, we are couple goals. Yeah, how am I now going to, you know? So we never sit and ask ourselves, who am I outside this relationship as an individual? That's one. But then, of course, if you look at the other functional things, like, for example, if you've got children together, you have property together, you know, those are very intricate, complex things that you have to work around. You know, because, for example, if you've got children, how are you going to discuss the issue of custody, who stays with the children, visitation rights? So it's a very complex thing. But what I would say is that if you find yourself in those sorts of situations, I think it's also important for you to realize that you cannot be the best version of yourself while you're still in that situation. If you've got children, you cannot show up as the best version of yourself for your children. So your kids are also picking up on this toxicity and the energy that is around there. So you're also creating more harm than good by just staying in that situation. So it's, and then the other thing that we don't usually discuss is what is the role of our circle in keeping us in these toxic relationships. And our circle, I mean our friends, our in-laws, family, the churches we go to, where people say, okay, no, fight for your relationship. That time you're coming there with a black eye and you're being told to fight for your relationship, you know. Because, I mean, you know, we're talking about 16 days of activism. And I think, you know, like last year and the year before also, you know, we had all these athletes who are, you know, finding themselves in, you know, very toxic relationships, and many of them died. And if you hear the backstory, many of them are being told, no, just fight for your relationship. You know, the Bible says, the church says, God said, you know. And so you have to ask yourself at some point, what is important for me to be able to be the best version of myself and thrive as a human being? You know, and I keep telling you, there's nothing wrong with walking away. It doesn't mean you're a failure. But we've been socialized to believe, and especially for women, that if you walk away from a relationship, first of all, you're the one who collapsed that relationship. Second of all, you are a failure because you could not hold your family together, even though you're being killed in that relationship and you're dying a slow death, you know. And then the third thing also is, and I see this, it happens for men and for women, but I see it mostly for women, is that women have been socialized to believe that there are rehabilitation centers for broken men. And I'm going to say that because I'm in a sector where I deal with a lot of issues of gender-based violence and intimate partner violence. And I have so many stories where, you know, women have told me that this guy came into this relationship with these problems, but then I was the one expected to fix him. You know, so every time something happened in that relationship, which was his fault, he didn't own up to it, and then I was the one who was held accountable. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you must have done this to trigger that, or you must have been the one who did this for this situation to occur, you know. And so my whole thing is that it is your responsibility to fix you. Whether you're the man or the woman in the relationship, it's your responsibility to fix yourself first before expecting somebody else to do it.
All right. But do you think women, you know, take in too much? And because you've had their reasons why people stay, financial dependence for their children, I want the children to have a father. Do you think it gets to a point where sort of like a woman would lose herself and forget about what she wants and just stay there for the sake, only to be people to come to your house and take your body?
Oh man. We actually touched a bit on this last week when we were discussing emotional intelligence. And we were talking about how women, how we grow up is, it's very easy for us to get in touch with our emotional side because we talk about things like, I've met you today, but I'm sure if we had 5 minutes in the corner, I'll know who your boyfriend is or how you're feeling about him or what you ate yesterday. But men, when they hang out, it's, I've known men here, even in the studio, but I don't know anything about them. But I promise you, I can tell you their favorite football team, or if they've ever talked about a girl. Their conversations are a bit superficial about, you know, Buddha. Sisi tuna getting deep. Like, hey, this guy hurt me, and it was like 3 months ago. So it's a bit easier for us to be very in touch emotionally than them. And I think it's a societal thing. It's just how we've been brought up. But that's still, like, ignorance is not an excuse. So you see, what happens is the women are getting more emotional intelligent. They're able to understand and manage their emotions. They're able to talk about them, feel them. While the men, like one of the ladies in the feedback said, the men are just, mi uko hivo, mi hivyo ndo nimekuwa. But you see, you've gone through childhood trauma. You've gone through things that you've been conditioned in your mind. You've not even had time to ask yourself questions about yourself that will make you and help you know yourself. But you're just content with being who you are. Let me just say, if someone ever uses that line on you, run. Because one character trait,
especially if it's a negative character that they're trying to defend.
Hata kama ni kitu ye mwenyewe anaona ni positive, inaweza kwa positive kwake, because character trait moja yenye inakwanga very consistent na intelligent people is that they're consistently willing to learn. They know they don't know everything. They know they're not the best in the room. Even if they feel it, they're always willing to learn. You can learn from anyone, from the janitor, from the CEO, from the homeless man outside. There's always something you don't know. So mtu akikuwa kwa hiyo space ya mi ndo najua, mi ndo najijua, hivyo ndo miukua, hivyo ndo nakuanga, they're not ready to improve, they're not ready to run, you cannot help them. Because growth is, it's like a change. You're never really ready for change. You're never, nobody prepares you. Hata ukwe ready. Things like grief, getting a child, being in a relationship, this is growth. This is something new. Even if you've been there before, it's a whole new experience. It's unique. No one is ever ready for that. And how you get ready is for yourself. You improve yourself. You should be able to step into a relationship and say, yo, mimi nakwanga passive aggressive. Najua cause nimeambiwa a few times. It's something I'm working on. Because your boyfriend will notice that ukijaa mo nyamaza, unafura, unagonganisha mavitu, uongee, uko.
My mood swings.
You know, and mtu mwenye hajazoea kutritiwa hivyo atakuwa like, what's all that? What's all that? And someone who's not aware will say, muko hivyo. Si mabeshte zangu amenizoea, hakuna mtu ashainisho. But someone who's willing to learn will be like, okay, okay, fine. It's hard to hear that. It's hard to be told the truth, but okay, how can I improve?
Yeah.
Then you start learning, oh, kumbe I can just communicate nikijam. Kumbe instead of, I can just tell you, yo, Safin, usiniongeleshe hivyo next time. Unajua,
And if you love each other, you can actually walk through counseling together. If somebody actually just wants to be better for the sake of the partner, they can actually walk through that journey together for them to improve.
And
themselves.
something else is that when people love something, whether it's a car or you buy a doll, when people love things, they care for them and they take care of them. And you might be listening to us and you're thinking, hizo vitu Roberta, Mike na QT wanasema zina exist utopia, ama hizo ni vitu tu happen kwa relationship poa, ama hizo ni za vitu watu wako na education, ama watu wako na pesa. Listen, the things we're talking about, ama unaweza fikiria hiyo ndo si story kwa ground, but listen, the fact that I'm talking about these things, the fact that we're talking about these things means that these things are possible. It means that we are doing them, or we have done them, or we have been in that situation where we're able to tell, yo, this is how things can be improved. So if you're listening, please, 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 usifeel aibu ati uwezi communicate ama uwezi ongea about relationships. Na si ati kila kitu kwa rosy all the time, but something that you should be on the same page about all the time is willing to improve yourself and be better.
All right, thank you, Roberta.
Yes.
As we're just about to cross very quickly to the feedback we have, and there are people who feel like they are doing this because they love me. Ananifuatilia sana maisha yangu kwa sababu ananipenda, and you know, he's checking on me too much, he wants to take me places, or this woman is following me too much because ananipenda. I mean, can love be expressed in that controlling way sometimes from where you sit?
Actually, control is a toxic trait on its own, because if you want to control someone, Safin, that means that ni wewe ndo kona insecurities. It's either you have trust issues, it's either you don't trust this person, or you think like Safin is too beautiful enough. So if I let her go out there with her friends, someone is gonna see, someone is gonna see Safin, macho ayana pazia. So at the end of the day, it's not about that Safin is beautiful. Just stop the trust issues. Let someone be. If you're in a relationship, let someone be. Try to love someone the way they are. If Safin is too confident, let her be too confident. If Safin is too beautiful, let her be too beautiful, you know. Actually, confidence, self-confidence is something good. And just to add on why people don't live, it's why people don't live this toxic relationship. It's about shame and ridicule in the society. Just like Mike said, like, mabeste wangu watasema nini, church itasema nini, mamangu watasema nini. You know, there are those parents or friends you go to, alafu anaanza kuambia, weka tu manze, unajua, like si poa ukitoka kwa relationship. So you end up being there. And also childhood trauma, sometimes unaka, because you never got this love from your family, from your siblings, from your parents. So unaanza kutafuta love na mtu mwingine. Maybe your spouse, you want them to really love you because you grew up feeling like you low self-esteem. Ilienda chini sana. So una feel ni kama ujipendi, so you end up finding that love somewhere else.
All right, cute thoughts there. I told you today it's all about, oh my goodness, today it's all about talking about love, and when love gets to a point where it begins to hurt, what are some of the things that would lead, you know, a couple or people who are in a relationship to get to that point? Let me hear what you're saying on our SMS platform 22422, 22422, and you say there, in terms of toxic relationship, people get into the relationship due to their own personal selfish reasons. And we have the other, one of our viewers there saying a relationship should be a two-way traffic, not just from one side. Everything is from one side. Thank you for your feedback. And of course, we have the other one. Their toxic relationship are caused by one partner. When one partner feels inferior to the other, or when one partner becomes a parasite to the other. Purity, thank you for that thought. And of course, we have another one there saying, my mama's ameniacha, I believe.
My mama's.
My mama's.
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Because tulikuwa tuna vibe na kuzo yake, and there was nothing between us. Nimu approach, I just bro. Pole for that. And of course, love nowadays is all over understanding. Let's all get civilized and put myths aside while in a relationship. Thank you for that. Brian Nelson from Kakamega, you say most toxic relationships start by listening to your besties and not your partner. Kupeleka tu moshene, relationship nje can lead you to trouble. Justice from Kitu, you say if a relationship is toxic, just quit and terminate it. Why endure evil deed? Enjoy life because we live once. You only live once. Angela from Kiambu, you say, I got to know this man when I was very naive and he wanted me pregnant, which I did. And immediately he broke up with me. He came back when my twins were 2 years and I accepted him back for the sake of my children. He beats me up anyhow. He calls me names and withdraws his responsibilities even for half a year. I want to let go, but I still hang around. I am really willing to move on. But for now, my 4-year kid asks me about how their dad every time advice. Wow. We're really sorry for that, Angela, but it's time you think about your welfare and that of your child. I want us to just wind up, and that message by Angela really concerns me.
Yes,
maybe you can tell her something.
Yes, it does. So part of the work I do is I work for a women's rights NGO called Center for Rights Education and Awareness. We offer free legal aid and psychosocial support to survivors of violence, especially women and children. So if you just allow me, I could read the toll-free number here, where you could call and you could get the free legal aid and the free psychosocial support. It's 0800 720 186. That's 0800 720 186. We have an office in Kibera, which is opposite the DO's compound, and that's where we provide our free legal services. So anybody who's going through, especially women and girls, going through free, the intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, whether it is, whatever nature it could be, we are there to support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Roberta, your final word? We've come
it's okay.
Out of time for
it's
this.
Okay. Just to encourage you guys that understand that everyone goes through these things, even the people who you would not expect. So do not hold shame within you, especially if it is being imposed on you, the abuse is being imposed on you. Talk to someone. Please reach out to us. Our DMs are open. Talk to us. Talk to someone close to you if you're scared. Talk to anyone. Tell someone. And always remember that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot stay with someone who destroys you and expect to be able to show up as a daughter, as a student, as a friend, as an employee. It's going to destroy your life if your self-esteem and your confidence and the way you see yourself is always being diminished. So love yourself enough to consistently choose yourself, and please reach out, talk to us, let us help you if we can. And you can reach out to me on loveandorgasms.com or Roberta Bobby, everywhere on social media, at LinkedIn, Roberta Bobby.
Hey, okay. Yeah. At love and what?
And Safin, what I can say is learn to walk away. You don't really need to be there. I know it's not easy. I know when I say learn to walk away, it seems like you can just wake up and walk away, but take your time to create that social distance, like literally social distance and emotional distance from that person that is doing all that to you. So just learn to walk away and learn to say no. And also you can seek help, like the way Mike has given those 12 numbers, or seek therapy. Talk to someone that you know will not judge you. But the most important thing is to love yourself and just learn to walk away from all the toxic traits.
Wow, thank you, Anne. Yeah. Anne Cute is a radio personality. Unaweza mpata pale wax tikitaka.
Yeah, tukitoka hapa, we are going to Radio
Citizen. Wax the other side. Thank you so much. I was also having a sit down with Mike Washira, is a human rights activist. Thank you, Mike. And of course, Roberta Bobby, a blogger and a panelist. Asante sana for creating time. We're talking about toxic relationships and why you need to opt out, why you need to think about yourself, and why you need to find solutions to what you're going through. As we mark the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, we are choosing not to fix the outcome, but to actually go into the root causes and help you understand a few things that may go wrong in a relationship and help yourself before it is too late. It's a conversation, of course, that we cannot wind up just in one sitting. But of course, if in any case you're going through something even close to that, you need to reach out to the right people, talk to the right people, and you can be able to just live a better life. Love is beautiful. Love is beautiful. And 2023 is coming. Don't give up yet. You never know. You never know. My name is Safina Chieng Oma, and I've been sitting in for Willis Raburu. Thank you so much for watching Daybreak this morning. Have a good one.